Hello everybody, welcome to the TraderMerlin Show. It is your Tuesday edition, a pretty exciting Tuesday. Today we're going to have Loren Newman on the program after I go through our top overall markets, and actually after I have some nice announcements for you as well. If you have questions regarding options today, let us know what they are. Send them on in. You can put them in the chat there on our YouTube, or if you're listening to this video after the fact, you can put it down below the YouTube video or go to TraderMerlin.com for more info. Yeah, a lot of interesting comments out there. Big Eb says you probably won't see trading floor photos like that. Yeah, the old trading floor is thing of the past, a little bit of a dinosaur out there, but there is some amazing things we can learn from it. One of my favorite things to do is talk to those old floor traders, so we'll do that as we progress. Real quick, let me make an announcement here. Yeah, there was a huge market move that last portion of the market. It was unbelievable how fast that end of the day rally was. Powerful move to the upside. In the face of great civil unrest across America, we have markets ripping to the upside. Just doesn't quite make sense. Unfortunately, I was not a part of that because I was on a conference call with some Online Trading Academy execs, the C team, and basically one of the great announcement today for anybody who's an Online Trading Academy fan and student. I know we've had many people who've voiced concerns over, will they still be there? Oh, what should I do? And I've been saying, relax, all will be okay. Today, they reached a tentative settlement agreement with the FTC, which should appease a lot of the fears out there, which basically means, look, we can put this whole issue behind us. We can start to move forward as an educational firm and deliver what I feel is the best content that has ever existed for trading and investing education to the public. So very, very good things announced today. Really looking forward to getting this ship back on track and just getting back to the peak of our game and hopefully getting everybody back on board. So that was a great announcement today. Hope you guys enjoyed that one as well. Let's start things off with our market update. I'm going to start down here at the bottom and work our way up. The update starts with the worst performer out there, which was gold, down almost 1%, down 0.93% to be precise. Technically, look at the picture. It's just bouncing back and forth near the lower end of the range, but not really noteworthy. 1734 is where gold closed at today. We'll see if it approaches those lows going into the next couple days, but right now, not too exciting. Bitcoin was exciting. Look at this, the volatile swings we had on Bitcoin. I mentioned yesterday that I thought 10,000 would be its target. Well, if you look at the Bitcoin futures here today, not only was 10,000 the target, we hit 10,565, so awesome spike up, but then came ripping back down, so a lot of volume out there on Bitcoin, 9,580, a slide of 0.3%. Now, I've been skipping this one recently just because it's been boring, but I want you guys to take a peek at this. This is like the ultimate bullish flag formation. Basically, it's a price where it's not making any lower lows. It's been building higher lows, actually, and staying right around the same highs. This is the 10-year U.S. Treasury note. Of course, as you guys know, as the price of this falls, the yield rises. Today we're at 0.68 on that 10-year. Again, I do think we're going to head to 50 basis points on that 10-year going forward, but we'll have to wait and see how it transpires. Just a boring-ass chart right now. All right, NASDAQ, 0.65%. You are screaming towards those all-time highs that we saw back in February. 9,657 for the NQs today. That's a gain of 0.65%. The thorn in my side, which continues to just tear me apart, the S&P 500, 3,078 right now. That's a gain of about 0.8% as we speak right now. Boy, that 3,100 certainly is a very attractive target right now. It looks to me like it's going to be a Ouija board type of thing and just gravitate right towards it. Unfortunately, I just thought we would be selling off at this point, but it's just unbelievable. We keep rallying in the face of all the issues we got going on. We have markets just ripping higher. Crazy. Best performer out there from the index perspective was the Russell 2000. Of course, it's not back to its highs from last week. 0.99% is where it's at right now, 1,418. All right, the final one for our update brings us to crude oil. We talked about crude oil really kind of being having some issues with that $35 level, and you can see that once it closed above that 35 mark, I said, look, you might get a little bit of a retest of that $35 mark. Then it'll probably rally back up towards that 40, and lo and behold, we have a nice follow through today. It was up 4.03%. 36.87 is where it stands right now on the day for crude oil, looking fantastic, and I don't see much in the way until it gets up to about $40 on that one. So that's our top markets out there to get your day started. But let's move past what happened out there today. I want to go actually even further than just today in the past. I want to go way back. I want to go back into history. We're going to talk a lot about floor trading. Our guest today joining us, I'm going to assume that our guest today is out in Chicago. We've got Loren Newman joining us today. Loren, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Merlin?
Fantastic. Good to have you with us.
Thank you.
I noticed with all of the with the riots and all that stuff going on, I see the picture behind you. You got police and hippies on the same picture. What's going on with the? Are you?
That's very funny. That was taken at the University of Arizona. I'm not going to tell you what year, but that really is a very apropos photo, to say the least.
Yeah, very timely. It's amazing how things come full circle.
Yes.
Let me do this. Let's start. I want to do kind of a profile thing here real quick. I'm going to ask you 3 kind of rapid fire questions just to set the stage for everybody who might not be familiar with who you are. We'll call it the profile. So our profile for traders really revolves around 3 different things. How long have you been trading, what you trade, and what would you say is your trading style?
I've been trading for almost 40 years. I hate to admit it sometimes, but I've been trading since I was in my early 20s, and I've never really done anything else. I trade options only, even though I've traded every other asset class, but I'm an option trader. I believe in options, and that's what I focus on almost 100%. And I'm also a spreader, so I'm hedging options constantly, and I'd say long duration for me would be about 5, 6, 7 days.
Okay. So it's short, so a little bit of a swing out there.
Yes.
So would you, are you predominantly a buyer or a seller of options? Because, it's an interesting dynamic when we think of, stocks or futures. It's like, I'm going to go long or I'm going to go short, but there's so many ways to play options. Are you more of a buyer or a seller?
Well, Merlin, it depends on the environment. So when options are expensive, meaning implied volatility is high, I'm absolutely a seller. But if I think implied volatility is low, meaning the options are cheap, I'm a very willing buyer. So I would never want to pigeonhole myself into saying, I'm a seller of options or I'm a buyer. Whatever the market tells me to do, that is what I am doing.
That's cool, because that's the attitude I think we should all have, right? It's saying, hey, I don't want to get rigid in my direction. Whichever opportunity is available for me, I'll be taking that. It's interesting having interviewed so many traders. There are some who would say, look, I'm just a seller. Unless I can sell, I'm just going to sit on the sidelines or find something to sell. I'm not going to be a buyer. And I just find that dynamic to be more prevalent with options traders than pretty much any other asset class. So.
Yeah, and no disrespect for those that are saying that, but I think being a one-trick pony as a trader is not the best approach. Certainly, I know that a lot of traders and friends of mine and students, they like to sell options, but I think they're leaving a lot of opportunity on the table.
Mm-hmm. Question from one of our viewers out there, Brendan, says, do you prefer volatility or directional? Do you have a preference?
Well, I think that's a question. Do I prefer volatility and direction? Well, I love volatility. And when you add the component of directionality to the trade, I would say sign me up for both of those, volatility and direction.
Okay. A little bit of each, a sprinkling of both. Let's call it the option sundae, right? Cherry on top.
That would work.
The picture we had at the very beginning, and I'll bring it up for the viewers at home just so you guys can see it. I threw this one together, and I do believe this is actually the floor of the CBOE, where Loren spent many years out there trading, and of course, we could go into the colored vests and all that stuff. I think most of us right now look at this type of environment or this picture, and we think, you know what? I'm in the confines of my own home. I'm making my own decisions. Maybe if I have to yell at somebody, it's the dog or the cat or my significant other. Those old trading floor days were something of legend, and I'd like to talk a little bit about what it was kind of like during those floor trading days with options, because to me, I feel like it would be much more confusing than being a floor trader for, let's say, futures or equities because of the combinations of options.
Your point's excellent. So with futures, everybody trades one contract, but with options, there's so many different series that are available. So when you're in a pit, you have to be able to lay off, trade, respond to brokers on every option that is available. And sometimes it's 30, 40, 50 options that that I would have to make a market in, and I was a market maker on the floor. The options is very a different animal than the futures markets for sure.
What was your your favorite thing about it? Because to me, I was on the floor of the CME one time. I went there as a guest from Terra Nova Securities or Terra Nova Trading brought me on there. Awesome time. Of course, this was as the floors were dying. There's definitely a period of time where it was extremely busy and crazy and pushing and shoving and screaming, and it was just The energy is off the charts. And now, I mean, obviously it's not there, but what was your favorite part of it? What do you miss the most?
Well, I loved every minute of being a floor trader. I liked the energy. I liked the physicality of it. I liked to be able to read the faces of the other traders and knowing exactly what the markets were going to do. I knew when traders were short. I knew when they were long. I knew when brokers had orders to fill. And, it was absolutely fantastic working on the floor. Not only that, we were all, independent for the most part. I only traded my own account. And, every day was a grand opening. So, it was wonderful for me. And, I just, I was in the pit almost the entire day. I didn't even want to take a break for lunch.
Yeah.
So, yes, I definitely miss it. But the floors are no longer, Merlin, as we know.
Yeah. It's funny, when I started teaching over in Italy, one of the things that I was headhunted by an Italian bank to come over and teach direct access trading to the European Union. And it was interesting because I got the opportunity to go to Borsa Italiana and go to some of the other exchanges, even up in Amsterdam, where they were shutting down already. And it was kind of interesting to see this trend coming. And that was long before the CME and CBOE shut down and started to close down. There is something very exciting about it, but there's also, with every good, there's a bad out there. You mentioned something I want to see if I can dig deeper into, which was, you knew what so-and-so was holding or what they were doing. Our goal as retail individual traders is to do exactly that. Unfortunately, I can't look you in the eye as we're trading. I can't see your body language, your actions, or how you respond to cues from the audience around you. What was it that gave you that advantage, and what were you looking for on the trading floor back in the day when you were on the floor?
Well, you could get a sense of what the market was going to do. If everybody was screaming and to buy, obviously you knew the markets were going to go up. And even though I did not know anything about supply and demand back then, intuitively I learned it very quickly. Retail traders always seemed to be buying at the top and selling at the bottom, and you could see that in the pit. Mm-hmm. But I want to add one more piece. I started one of the very first electronic trading firms in Chicago, and actually, Merlin, you were doing the same thing in Irvine that we were doing in Chicago on LaSalle Street.
Yep.
So I embraced electronic trading because the writing was on the wall. And, electronic trading is fantastic. I can, push a button on my mouse. I get filled immediately. You can hear how my throat sounds, for 20 years of, destroying myself. And so, electronic trading is great. And, sure, I don't have a broker next to me, and I don't have other traders, showing the, fear and, euphoria. But, you have to adapt. And I did learn that early.
When you look at the excitement, and this is kind of the unique thing about being a screen-based trader, which I would say 99% of everybody is. You mentioned that you could tell by the screaming and the shouting and the uproars all of a sudden, buy orders, buy. The only real way you have to see that is on a price chart, and actually if you add in like time in sales, so you can see where the transactions are taking place and how quickly something's moving. To me, what you had back on those trading floor days was an unbelievable competitive advantage. And for the viewers that might not know how it worked, these floor traders all paid to have a seat there. And that was the origin of price movement. That was the apex, if you will, the vortex of all the transactions that were happening right in that pit. By the time that you received that information on your digital screens or your telephones, whatever, it was very delayed. I was on a thing called LOS Squawk Box, which connected to CME, which was about 60 seconds delayed. And that 60-second head start is a monstrous advantage. But you don't have that now. So what are you using to make your assessments here, to judge the screaming and the shouting and the buying orders coming in?
It's very simple. It's the chart that's available to every one of us. Price does not lie, and the chart will tell you exactly what the market's going to do. Uptrends, downtrends, and I'm a firm believer that the chart is the best way to trade right now. Mm-hmm. I don't look at time. I don't look at time in sales. I don't listen to CNBC. The chart tells me everything I need to know, Merlin.
Yeah. Are there when you're looking at options? Because I'm assuming you're predominantly options at this point. Are there certain things that you'll filter out? Because I'll give you an example. I can't remember the ticker symbols, but in the last week I've had people send me requests to analyze some stocks that have gone from 50 cents to $5, and they're like, oh wow, I should jump on this. I'm thinking, first off, you'd never trade that crap in real life. I mean, it's a gamble. It's a high flyer. My assumption would be that you're trading things that are very liquid, that have tons of options activity going on, and that right there kind of whittles down the universe for you a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the stock you were mentioning before, I would never trade that. Stock goes from 50 cents to $5 is absurd. But what I trade is all the name brands, the Facebooks, Googles, the Apples, Amazon, all the indexes, the liquidity. I want to know that if I'm going to get in the market, that not only can I get in and not have to give up much of an edge, we call that slippage, but also I can get out. So yes, I trade all the indexes and the name brand stocks that we're all familiar with.
Nice. Question came in from Brandon. He says, don't charts only show half the transactions going on? And I think what you're referring to is the fact that most of these transactions are probably happening on a dark pool. There are still rules with regards to the exchanges in the time that those trades need to be reported. So even though they're happening off exchange, there's a window of time that they have to be reported on the exchange so that all transactions are stuck in one spot. So they are still reported to that exchange. So the chart does reflect those ones.
Yeah, and if anyone's worried about dark pools, I think you're wasting your time.
Why is that?
The dark pools, who knows anything about them? Who knows what's behind the trades? Who knows what they're trying to do? In my world, I don't even consider any of that.
You trade what you know and just kind of
follow. Yeah, and the stock and the chart is telling me the direction.
I did have one question that came in from Joseph just a little bit ago. He says, what number do you consider implied volatility to be too expensive or too cheap? Are there kind of parameters where you say, it's too much for me or too little?
That's actually an excellent question. I mean, it would be simple. A year ago when the implied volatility, the VIX, was 12, 13, 14, I'd say, yeah, it's cheap. But, a few months ago at the end of March, it was trading near 70.
Yeah.
And, just mentioning what you talked about before, well, there's no way in hell I'm going to be buying options when the VIX is at 70. Well, now the VIX is back down into the mid-20s. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of the few people, I think that it's low, and I think we're going to get another spike in implied volatility. And I caution my students, don't be short a lot of premium here, or make sure you do it with a risk-controlled position.
I'm actually going to try to bring this one up for the viewers out at home. Here's a chart of that VIX. It's really interesting when we look at the trend here. I know you can't see this one, Loren, but given your skill set, I'm pretty sure you know what it looks like. Going back let's just do 2 years for the viewers. You can see that really all of 2018, 19, and 20, for the most part, we were stuck below 20 on the VIX. And historically, when VIX is low, they're calling it under 20. We kind of modified that a little bit, I think, to say underneath 15. But it was exceptionally low. And then, of course, as you mentioned, that spike up there that we saw in March that brought it up to over 70. Now we're drifting down, 26.84, which by all intents and purposes is still a little high given the historical norms. It may drift back down towards that 13 mark, or do you think we kind of established a new normal because of what's going on?
Your question is excellent. Certainly, I'm not going to take a stand saying it's going to go up or down, but I'd rather buy options in the low 20s on the VIX than, in the 40s or 50s. Mm-hmm. And, it just makes them cheaper, and it makes them more opportunistic to, be a buyer as opposed to a seller.
I had a question that came in yesterday direct to TraderMerlin, which was, and I didn't get a chance to write it all down, it was from Mark, and he was talking about earnings announcements. Now, I generally am kind of hard on people who trade earnings announcements because you just never know what the hell's going to happen. I mean, I did a good example of it a couple days ago. I forgot the name of the companies. I'm sure my viewers probably know better than I do. There were two companies that blow out earnings and their share prices just fell through the floor. There were two companies that exact same day that had horrible earnings and the share prices soared. What's your view on earnings? Do you trade them? Do you have any cautionary notes for viewers that want to trade earnings announcements with options?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't like earnings because it's a binary event. And incidentally, it doesn't matter what the earnings are, if they're good or bad. The market makers will have what we call an expected move. So it could be plus or minus, I'm making this up, 10 points. If it's within the 10-point move up or down, the stock has done exactly what it's supposed to do. So trading earnings is a binary event in the fact that if it's greater than the expected move and you're you have the right position on, you'll be rewarded for it. But the market makers, they are right 68% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's one standard deviation.
That's their job, is to make the market.
Right.
All right. I know you're on a laptop, but you don't have a chart in front of you, do you?
I do not.
Okay.
I don't need a chart. Just tell me. I'll tell you what's on it. I don't need to see it.
Well, this one came in from a viewer from Darkstar, and he says, thoughts on buying Nike October 100 puts. So that's you need a chart for that one.
Well, just tell me the price. Tell me the price of the stock.
We've just broken above 100, so we're at $100.74 right now. So it's for the first time it's broken 100 since it fell in February. Back in February. Oh, sorry. Let me show the charts of the audience out here, so maybe you can see it there. You can see we closed that gap. We're rallying pretty good. It's coming right into an overhead supply zone, which you could argue is going to be between, let's say, 103 and 104. It's looking pretty strong right now, and I think that a lot of people feel like there may actually be, some downside move here, although the market is shrugging off anything negative whatsoever. So Darkstar's thinking maybe Nike October, so he's giving himself plenty of time, I think. 100 puts into supply zone. It's against the trend. What do you think?
Oh, good. I can tell you right now. So the 100 puts, 50 deltas, so I can live with that. If you're right, at least you'll get paid for it. So if it's a 50 delta, and I bet I'm pretty close, the stock goes up $1, you'll participate in 50% of the move. If it's against the trend, you might want to spread it off. So if you're buying the 100 puts, maybe you sell the 90s or 95 puts just to offset some of the premium you paid. You're going out to October. It's a little far. I don't know why you're going out that far. I don't know how long you plan on holding the position. I think you could accomplish the same thing going out to July or August.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually bringing it up for us right now.
I don't have the chart, as you know.
Yeah, no, but you're right, and it's right around. Of course, it's going to be right around 50 delta since you're right around the share price.
Right.
Just from a pure technical perspective, I'm actually okay with it. I think you're all right with it. I think you're due for a pullback, but of course, you're talking to somebody who's completely biased at this point, right? Because I've got a short position on, and I think that this market is complete bullshit at this point. I think it's completely manipulated and fabricated to the upside. Of course, my opinion doesn't mean squat because this market's up so much off those lows. It's just at this point going to keep on going and going and going. So, I think if you do take that trade, Darkstar, you got to be a little bit careful and say, what if it breaks that 105 all-time high? If it breaks that one, I would probably want to exit that one because at this point, momentum is so unbelievably strong with this market, it's kind of hard to fight that trend.
Merlin, a couple of comments. First of all, Darkstar can put a stop order above supply. So, that's a no-brainer. It doesn't sound like you'll be taking too much risk. And then Merlin, what you said before, the market is an equal opportunity dream destroyer. I didn't make that up.
I like that.
So, I didn't make that up. But, you're short, everybody's short, but the trend is up and you cannot fight the trend. And it's silly. It just doesn't work.
I know. No, and I'm aware of that. Actually, my strikes are for September, so I'm way out there. But it's just I was really marveling at how quickly this thing has moved, especially the past week and a half. Has just been a really powerful rally. I mean, we are in a period of I would just say it's one of the darker, more sadder periods of time for the United States with regards to division, not just political division, but religious division with racism division. And then we have this whole coronavirus on top of it. It's like, just what else is going to happen from a negative perspective? But the market's just going, you know what? The Fed will save us. We'll be fine in no time, and they'll bail us out. So it just keeps on rallying. What's your take on it? I mean, do you think that the market is just propped up by the Fed, or is this just the natural course of price action to just keep making highs?
Well, first of all, I don't care. I have no idea. It doesn't even interest me. I have no interest. But I applaud as a Darkstar and you because you're using options and they have a limited risk component to them.
Right.
So you both might be wrong, along with a lot of other people, I might say, but at least you're capping your risk. And you cannot trade successfully unless you know the risk before you put the trade on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really a firm believer in that, Merlin.
Yeah, and to that point, you're 100% right. And I've marked it very clear how much I was willing to risk on this trade, and it's fine. And obviously, I don't want to lose. Nobody wants to lose, and it's obviously a high flyer. So at least when I say high flyer, for me, it's a long shot type of trade. But I'm just looking at the economy and those types of things. And I think fundamentally, we'll see Q2 really start to be the negative side, and that's when things will start to fall down. But we'll have to wait and see. Let's go to stories from the floor. Do you have any like just really funny, memorable like stories? Because I know back from my trading floor days, which is retail, there's some stories that I'm writing in this book that are just fantastic. I love them, and they were about other people in many cases, but they were the biggest learning lessons for me. Do you got any ones you want to share from your experience? Because I know you got a ton of them.
Yeah, I do. I think I'm lucky I survived it, that nobody beat the crap out of me, being 5'6", 140, fighting every single day against ex-football players. They called it the land of the oak trees. So, I don't have a specific stories, but it was really fun. Think about this. We were all in our 20s. There were thousands of people on the floor, and we had money. Do you think that might be a perfect storm for a lot of fun and a lot of stories?
Oh, yeah.
That I'm not going to go into?
I was going to say, some you can't disclose.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. I will recant one, and I'll be careful not to mention anybody's names. But back in the late 90s, there was a direct access trading firm, which, just to give you guys an idea of how crazy and wild things were, there was a direct access trading firm which was blowing up and just dominating the scene at that moment in time, run by two young brothers. And a buddy of mine ran IT for him. And when he came out to Irvine and he shared a whole bunch of stories, and one of these was just like something out of like National Lampoon. He says he went to their mansion, right? And these guys are in their 20s, brand new in their 20s, walked into this party, and he said that there was one of those giant foyer with the big circling staircases that go up. And this table was probably, in the middle of the foyer, probably about an 8-foot wide table that had about a 4-foot high pile of cocaine on it. I'm thinking, oh my God, even the cartel's gonna be like, hey, that's a lot of blow right there. But back in the days when you're young and dumb and have a ton of money, crazy things happen out there.
Merlin, I'm keeping my mouth shut on those stories.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm not worried about it. They can't shut me down. All right. Is there any? So that's the wild stuff. Bob Dunn used to tell a story about how he got hurt. He got like trampled on the floor. But you mentioned thousands and thousands of people. When I was on the floor, there wasn't thousands of people. I looked into the live cattle pit, and there were 3 guys leaning against the rails on this thing, just bored out of their mind. The S&P pit was kind of active. You ever seen the stampede or the trample? Because I know that excitement was there, and you're not a big guy. You're like me. We're kind of smaller guys, man.
Right.
You get pushed around a lot?
Absolutely. But you had to be tough. You had to, hold your own. However, you had to be smart. And you had to be able to fill the orders from the brokers. So, the brokers knew they could come to me. I would fill their paper. And by the way, they weren't always good trades. Right. I could not cherry pick and just take the good ones. I had to take them all. So they respected me. They took care of me. If there was some ex-football player in my spot, they'd make sure that the guy, left and that I got my spot. It really worked out great. Damn electronic trading.
Yeah, that's a good one. I miss it. I wish that I could have been there because I think my trading world would be a bit different based off of what I learned on that floor. When you started out, if I remember correctly, you didn't aspire to be a trader. Just kind of one of those things you kind of gravitated into it, correct?
Yes. A friend of mine, I was going to school at the University of Arizona. A friend of mine was living in a tent in my backyard. And one day the tent was gone, and he called me and he said, drop out of school, get back to Chicago. I'm trading on the Chicago Board Options Exchange, and you better get here as fast as you can. Meanwhile, I finished school, and 6 months later, I was working for him.
Crazy. The irony is this. I've interviewed just about everybody I could find from Chicago that's gone through Online Trading Academy has come on the program, and not one person says, it was my goal or dream or ambition to be a floor trader. It's always like somebody goes, "Hey, Bob, come on down. I got a seat for you. You're gonna love it down here." Interesting dynamic. Right. What was your biggest challenge starting out? Because I know we got a lot of people right now who are thinking about options. Some are extremely experienced with options that are in the room. But what would you say was your biggest challenge as you were learning this asset class, which obviously was new to you at that time?
Well, I was really fortunate because I had some wonderful mentors down there. And when I started trading, I could always go to somebody and say, hey, can you show me that spread? Can you help me figure out, this combination? And don't forget, Merlin, if you show somebody a trade on the floor, you've created a competitor.
Yep.
But people were willing to help me, and it worked great. So, I was very fortunate. I learned from some old New York traders that came to Chicago. They weren't option traders, but they were really, really good at trading, and they had the money management / discipline to be good traders. So, I learned from them, and I was fortunate. I picked things up quickly, and I became a spreader, which I still am, buying one option, offsetting with another. I traded big enough, but I was always in control. And, I was really blessed early on in my trading career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's nice to be in that environment where you have mentors or people to guide you, which is obviously why I'm such a big proponent for what we do as instructors at the Online Trading Academy. You mentioned when I spoke to you earlier that you're doing mastermind sessions. Walk us through, for those that might not know, Online Trading Academy has a mastermind clubhouse, and there's all kinds of mastermind sessions going on there. Tell a little bit about what you do in there. What is kind of your daily routine and when it is?
Okay. Well, first of all, I try to do it once a week. At 10:30 on Friday, Chicago time. And the reason I love the mastermind, so when we teach the on-location classes, we have to, there's a script, we look at the slides, and, the powers that be at OTA are always saying, Loren, you got to stick to the basics, save the off-the-rails conversations for mastermind.
Yep.
So when I'm in the mastermind community, I can talk about anything I want, and I do. Very esoteric trades, and we go into more detailed, more advanced strategies, and I love it. And by the way, the mastermind community, they're fantastic. They're motivated. Anybody who is mastermind, they have to be motivated, and they love options. So I just can't tell you how pleased I am to be in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that vein, I'm going to give a big shout out to all the students. I think part of the reason that Online Trading Academy reached this tentative settlement agreement with the FTC is because of the outpouring of support from the students. And I know that many of you right now are part of the community, so thank you. I look forward to working with you guys more in the future. I know Loren is as well. But I think it's really the vote of support and confidence that kind of made the FTC and the court go, okay, maybe we work something out here, and hats off to everybody out there. I was actually signing some petitions as well as a student because I was a student back in 1998, and I don't think I could possibly have done what I've accomplished without the education I got on Online Trading Academy. So again, shout out to everybody.
I agree.
What else you got going on? Are you just doing masterminds? You just trading out there in Chicago, taking it easy for the summer on quarantine?
Yeah, I'm definitely quarantined, so there's obviously no online classes or on-location classes. Okay. I want to be doing online classes for OTA. So I'm in the process of getting that done. And, I just want to keep teaching. I love teaching, but, I love my students. I get a whole lot more than I give. Yeah. Some really wonderful people.
Yeah. I think it's funny because I think early on when in your trading career, when you started many, many moons ago, you probably wouldn't have said that statement. You probably would have been like, hey, I'm keeping my proprietary stuff to myself, and then I'm gonna just do what I got to do to survive. Now, for some reason, this is the way I feel anyway. Is I think early on I probably wouldn't have been as forthcoming with information. In class, I would teach pretty much everything, but people were picking me for information. I wouldn't normally disclose everything I knew because I felt like it was blood, sweat, and tears. Now I'm happy to pour it all out there. Why not let everybody learn from our mistakes? Because you sure as hell made a bunch when you started off. So did I.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm very transparent. So, everything that I teach in the clubhouse and on location as well is what I do every single day. I'm not running some black box, some algo at home in Chicago, and this is what I do when I'm teaching.
Nice. We'll tell you what. Next time we get you on, we'll just do a bunch of chart analysis. We can talk more about the styles and everything. I want to thank you for your time coming on today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And one other thing. I noticed that a lot of people who are successful in the trading world are musicians, and I noticed you got a guitar on the screen. I think even from your profile picture, you've got some pictures of you playing guitar. Are you an accomplished musician, or is this just your outlet?
Well, I don't know if I'm accomplished, but it's certainly been my outlet forever. So when I took the job at OTA, I took up the mandolin. because it fits in the overhead of an airplane nicely. So I've been like a crazy mandolin player, bluegrass, for like 6 years. So I play music every single day. It's a big part of my life. I do blues jams around Chicago, and I'm really out there. I love it.
Nice. Have you ever heard of Del McCrory?
Of course. Are you kidding? He's on my iPhone right now.
just
and his son.
Yeah, his son is funny. There's a theater out here in Irvine. I think it's called the Barclay Center, but it's a perfect acoustic venue, and it's designed for music. And he came out here and played, and I've seen him many times. If you guys love bluegrass, watch him while you can, because he's getting up there. But he tours with his sons, and they're phenomenal. Right. They're all award-winning, like mandolin players, banjo players, etc. At one point, it was so cool because they're usually amped up in microphones. He's like, in his southern drawl, he's like, "Would y'all like me to come out here and do this a cappella?"
That's
it's
right.
like, yeah. They unplug all their instruments and just stood at the front of the stage, and it sounded epic. It was so nice hearing no amplification, just the pure string sonic vibration. It was incredible. If I ever see him come out here and you're in town, I will definitely get you some tickets to that one.
You're on with that.
All right. Well, Loren, thanks so much for coming on the program today.
Welcome,
I do appreciate it. I look forward to having you on again soon. And as always, thank you for sharing your knowledge with our students. I look forward to seeing you in the mastermind community.
Great. Thank you so much, Merlin.
All right.
Best to you. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Make sure my microphone doesn't blow up like it normally does. Cool. There we go. Awesome, guys. That was fun. Interesting character out there, Loren Newman, and his background. I like to do more stories from the floor. At some point, I'm going to try to dig deeper into what it is that these guys experience on the floor. I want stories. I want the dirt. I want some scoop about, it can change the people's names, etc. But I think it'd be great to get like stories from the floor. It was actually a segment I wanted to do on the show, but it's kind of hard sometimes. Anyway, Loren, we mentioned 40 plus years trading, guys. It's hard to look at someone who's been in the industry 40 years, especially with floor and screen-based trading. He actually was part of LaSalle Trading, so he knows online, etc. He will be doing mastermind clubhouse sessions if you want. That's gonna, I think he said Friday at 10:30 Chicago, which is 8:30 California time, obviously 11:30 East Coast time. I would encourage you to join that one. Be an awesome one. Let me see. Let's see. There's a bunch of questions coming in. As far as the tentative settlement, there's not really much I can say. I don't want to go down that path. I hate corporate shirts. I find them so annoying. I feel like wearing anything that's labeled and branded for somebody else is a waste of my time unless you're paying me to brand them. However, I went in my closet today and got this one. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it says Relentless Commitment. And I wanted to wear this one today because what you had today was a victory, and some of you might be joining late here. You had a relentless commitment from not just Eyal Shahara, but Gene Longobardi, a bunch of others involved in this process. I would say there's probably 50 people who have been fighting from inside the company. And then it's really the students have backed this up and supported. And I think Eyal's relentless commitment to make this company survive. At any point, he could have said, you know what, I'm out, and disappeared. And that is not the character of somebody that I want to work for. You notice that there are some other people, some of you have been mentioning his name in chat here, who are, I would say, cowardice, who are people who would pull ship and disappear right away at the first sign of something bad. And those are people I don't want to work with. And I agree with the comment that Dave says, OTA wins without SS. I agree. And I think that what this is an interesting process, because what this allows Online Trading Academy to do is to reboot. And we can objectively look at things and say what was working, what was not working, and what needs to be fixed. Because, look, Online Trading Academy certainly isn't the most perfect company in the world. There's a lot of things that could be fixed. And this, I think, is an opportunity for us to reboot, to restart. I am extremely excited that there's this tentative settlement agreement. I hope it gets pushed through as soon as possible. So there still are a lot of restrictions in place with regards to what OTA can do. Hopefully, in another couple of months, we'll get that burden lifted off, and now we can get back on the ground running and really become world-class, like has been the goal from Online Trading Academy from Eyal Shahar since the very, very beginning when I worked with him back in 1998. And I couldn't be more proud of it. I love the relentless commitment that, again, not only the employees have put in, but the leadership as well as the students. And if you think about what the end of the day result is, it's all about the students. it's 100% about the students, right? If the students are happy and successful and driven and getting what they paid for, then it's a win-win all the way around. And I think that was reflected by the support that was received. You had a few complaints out there from students, and unfortunately that brought in the FTC and pushing from some other people. But the reality was there was tens of thousands. I believe there was 9,000 people that signed petitions. There were several thousand that signed some countersuit against the FTC. When's the last time that the government went and tried to shut down a company, and then their clients came and sued the company that was trying to the government for shutting down the company? I don't think that's happened to this scale ever. So it was a really groundbreaking case. I'm really excited to see it going forward, and I'm hoping that'll be the end of the discussion on it, and we can forget about this as just being we can learn from it. As always, you want to learn from mistakes or things that have happened. But also, never forget the power that the government has, the ability to do something which I felt was completely out of line. And unfortunately, I don't think there will be any recourse for Online Trading Academy for it. It is what it is. We just have to lick our wounds and move on and be better for it. So, yeah, it was great news today. And thanks to everybody, all of you. I know there's many people here who are very, very supportive in those lawsuits and signing documents and saying, hey, look, this company's great, and I believe what they stand for, as do I, and I'm still there, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So that's awesome. Great. All right, I'm going to stop talking about that stuff. I know some people get upset that I keep talking about it, so I will just keep moving on. Let's go to your economic calendar for tomorrow. Honestly, it's boredom. There's really nothing going on tomorrow. You have Samsung Electronics reporting earnings. That's obviously a huge one, but other than that, there's not a ton of really important stuff. We look at the economic calendar. This is obviously a busy day. The numbers, I didn't highlight any of these, so let me bust out my trusty, let me see if I can find it for you. Where is the presenter view? There we go. All right, let me draw on the screen for you just so I can highlight the stuff that I think is going to be really important for tomorrow. Most of this obviously going to be coming from the U.S. Number one, I would say, is this 5:15 a.m. ADP non-farm employment change. This is critical, and maybe this is why we're seeing some of the rallies to this extent. You're looking at 20 million unemployment claims, or ADP non-farm employment change, in the previous report. They're expecting it to be negative 9,500, which means a significant slowdown, which would be really good for the markets. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods. It just means that the number of job change has declined significantly. What else is big out there? You have Canada tomorrow. They have a rate statement right now. Expectations are they're going to stay at 25 basis points, so that's a big one. Just if you're trading the Canadian dollar, or if you live in Canada, like our friends from the north. I thought it was really funny. Someone posted a meme that I think Larry sent this one to me, and it said, Canada right now probably feels like the neighbors that live above a crack house because of all the craziness that's going on in America. I thought that was pretty damn funny. We also have factory orders. Keep an eye on this one. This would certainly be a sign of production. If you have factory orders are expected to decline significantly. They were negative 10% month over month. Now their expectations are negative 15%. We'll see how that pans out. And of course, you have crude oil inventories, which they've just stopped forecasting. You can see here 7.9 million barrels up, rise was the previous number. And normally they forecast, but they just haven't done that yet. Other than that, not too much going on. I think you can look at the unemployment rate for Europe if you're trading the euro. Of course, that will be just affecting the Forex markets, but expecting that to jump to 8.2%. All right. Let's see. A couple quick questions to come in here since I got a few minutes. Merlin, do you think that the rally could be just a trap into a sell-off given the conditions? I mean, personally, I do. And here, the reason why I feel like this is some kind of orchestrated trap is the events over the past, since, let's just say, Thursday, have been horrible. It's created more rift, more divide, and as I said the other day, it's kind of hard. You can't say, well, I'm going to support this cause and post on social media about this one, because if I do, then the other side over here is going to say I'm racist or anti-political or whatever. And then if I go to the other side and say I'm going to support this one, it's exact opposite. So we're creating a division, a rift that I feel is challenging America right now. That said, that should result in pessimism in our markets. Instead, we're seeing nothing but optimism. So I think that's what I believe to be the trap. It's luring people in this face of uncertainty with corona, with jobs, with unemployment, with economic data, with earnings. and now we have this on top. How could it possibly keep rising? So it feels orchestrated to me. Unfortunately, it doesn't really matter. Who could it be? It could very easily be institutions just saying, okay, every day, guys, I need you to buy, $20 million worth of securities. Just keep buying it, and you just do it systematically, buy, and eventually we'll pull that rug out and sell it all after they do some nice press release or some nice announcement. Lower volume is certainly a factor here. I mean, you're seeing the people who are making money just aren't selling. What will happen, and I'm hoping it happens, is there will be a knee-jerk reaction to a small sell-off. So let's say, for example, we get a 2% sell-off in one day. What that will do is we'll start to trigger more selling, and some of these people who are holding out for higher profits, which is why you're seeing lower volume, they'll kick in and start to sell, and then you'll see a big spike down. As Darkstar says, the Fed trillions. I mean, you cannot argue that. It's the Fed that is really, really pushing this higher and higher and higher and higher, and it just doesn't seem like they're going to stop at all. Unfortunately, that's just part of the system. I at this point in my longer term stuff, I am clearly fighting the Fed, and we know that can be a very dangerous thing. The long squeeze. Yes, Brendan. Dave says, you should just do a whole show detailing everything so everyone can be fully aware of what's happening and put a stop to any rumors. Just a thought. Well, it's tough. I mean, a lot of people are afraid to talk about it. And you're right. I think we should. But even if I were to try to bring on some of the execs or even the FTC and say their side, I think that people will be guarded with what they say. It's one of the things I like about this show is I'm not tied to anything. No one's sponsoring. I'm not swayed anyway. It's my personal opinions. And a lot of it is reflected from my personal experience, having worked with many of the individuals that you guys are talking about in chat, etc. I agree with a lot of stuff. Let's see, what else we got here? Mike says, did Dershowitz make a difference? I'm sure of it. I'm sure Dershowitz helped out. Personally, I think that if it went long term, if it went the entire legal process, I'm pretty confident that OTA would have won. The problem is, if you go that long through the process and you're under these kind of restraints because of the TROs and all these injunctions, it's extremely limiting what we can do. And at that point, the FTC is just trying to kill the business. That's their goal, was to shut the business down without regards for student or anything. So here Eyal is trying to keep that business going and keep it functional. But the longer it goes with handcuffs on, it's hard to keep everything afloat. So I think Eyal probably did the right thing, which is say, look, let's just settle this so I can get back to running this business and get the school back up and running so we can be the best of the best out there. Did Dershowitz make a difference? I think that was an impact. I think that certainly his perspective, his notoriety, and just the caliber of individual who he is made a difference in it. I was not a part of any of the court hearings or any of that stuff, so I don't know. I read every court document that comes through to get an idea of what's going on, what's being said about so-and-so. But bottom line is, it's a very, very good day today from an online trading academy perspective. And really, I'm not going to say democracy, but having a solution to this. Obviously, if we could get a fast-track court appearance, I think it would be much better. All right. That will do. Batista says Fed bailing out the Wall Street. No, it's. I think it's more than bailing out Wall Street. I think it's way, 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 way more deep than bailing out Wall Street. It's A, bailing out Wall Street. It's B, giving themselves, they're saving their asses, because when the history books are written about any of the Fed, it will be that they propped the markets up and saved the markets and did a great thing. They're really covering for their own selves and their future. But yes, they are bailing out the banks. They're bailing out the financial institutions. Unfortunately, as we've seen, especially with a lot of the rioting and stuff, small businesses, again, are getting hurt. And the big businesses are getting a bulk of the rewards from money and bailouts and funding and things like that, which is a whole different story. Arvin says, where can we learn more about the FTC results? There's different legal websites you can go to pull up the court documents, the publicly available ones. I know the FTC had a bunch of them on their site, but there's just different legal sites out there. All right, that's it. I got to wrap up, guys. I'm going to have a busy day. So tomorrow... first off, I'm so bad at self-promotion. I really need to get better. I need to hire somebody to just be my self-promoter. If you like today's show, if you like Loren Newman, do me a favor, click that thumbs up out there. That will certainly help us out. The more likes we get, the better. You can always comment on the videos. Tomorrow, we're going to have another Chicago floor trader, one that is not as calm and collected as Mr. Loren Newman. Loren Newman seems like he's just got very calm, kind of a quiet guy, got his all his shit in order, and he's pretty good at what he does. Tomorrow we're going to have Bob Dunn on the program. Who's a little bit different. He's the wild guy, the loud guy, the guy who's flashy and crazy. It's a nice dichotomy between the two, but they all have the same basic foundation of trading on those floors. Bob always has some great stories out there, and I will definitely try to pry and get some of those stories. If you have questions for Bob Dunn or myself, or even for Loren, let us know what those are. You can send those in at TraderMerlin. I can bring up the still there for you so you guys can see it if you're watching the video. If you listen to the podcast, just go to TraderMerlin.com. You can find out more information about the show. You can also send in your questions there. But the easiest way is to put your questions down below the video on YouTube. I read through all of those. I would love to hire Tilly, honestly. Tilly is just amazing. She's such a great individual. She actually did a lot of work for us in the past with content, etc. So it was awesome having her on. Merlin's going to go to the beach. I'm not going to go to the beach, but I am going to go to the Back Bay and go hiking with my dog. So that's the plan for the day. And he's over here staring at me, so I want to make sure I get going. All right, everybody, that will do it. Again, give me a thumbs up if you liked it. If you didn't, do me a favor, email me and tell me what you didn't like. Those who did email me the other day and send in complaints, I do appreciate that. Honestly, it means a lot because it helps me fix things. Some things I'm happy to change. There's other things that are kind of my personality that I'm probably not going to change, but I appreciate the comments, and I'll try to curtail some of that. If there's things that you really like about the show, that also is good to let me know because it helps me make more focus on that specific portion of the show. So again, thank you guys so much. It's awesome being here every day with you. Tomorrow we'll have Bob Dunn on the program. I can't wait. Have a fantastic day. Be safe out there. Instead of throwing a Molotov cocktail at a business, go buy something from a local business and hug the business owner at the same time. Until then, happy trading. I'll see you tomorrow.